we run into the people who are living upstairs. Like, they were like, are you the new owners? Okay, can we do laundry? I'm like, what? Like, we just couldn't figure out why they were so terrified. My client's like, JP, we really love this place. Like, we do. I was like, you know what? Get it. Ask them for $1,000 credit, call it a day.
Which is like nothing when we're dealing with...
In real estate, $1,000 is nothing. My client last year was buying a 2-flat.
That's a good start already.
Story over.
In today's episode of Real Estate with the Van Lawless team.
I think my craziest deals are the ones that did not go through, that did not come to the closing table. First one, my client's been looking in Edgewater for a very long time. They've been looking between Foster and Argyle, between Broadway and Sheridan. So
for those who don't know, it's like a tiny radius, like 1 block.
But I understand why they want that block. Like, it makes so much sense. We found multiple things. One we found, we didn't get under contract, we lost some multiple offers. Everything we've lost in multiple offers in that little neighborhood. Finally found something. They loved it. I loved it. I was like, this is great for what you want. Cheaper than, $100K cheaper than what they were willing to spend. This is great. So we do an inspection, and they're first-time home buyers. So they're trying to figure out what things they should be looking at. I'm trying to give them some advice. And the inspector found some moisture in the basement. It happens. And they're like, JP, what's your thoughts? Like, well, this is either $1,000 or $20,000. Like, there's no in between with it. Like, moisture in the basement could be from anything. The HOA had issues with moisture, and they were addressing it. So they had the way the drainage was coming from the gutters was an issue, landscaping, all the normal stuff. So my client said, hey, what should I do? I was like, well, we should get a specialist to come take a look at it. So we lined up some waterproofing companies. We told the seller said, no, why don't you want us to have a waterproofing company come check it out? I was like, we don't want anybody else in. We'll do it ourselves. We said, fine. So the seller got their own company, and then they gave us the information. The information was, there's water in the basement. We're like, yeah, we know that part. We want to know where it's coming from. And that's what we told the attorney. We again asked them to bring our own person in. They said no. We asked them to put money in escrow that if and when it closes and there's an issue up to like 10 grand or whatever it may be, we'll be able to like build from that piggy bank. They said no. My client's like, JP, we really love this place. Like, we do. I was like, you know what? Get it. Ask them for $1,000 credit, call it a day.
Which is like nothing when we're dealing with...
In real estate, $1,000 is nothing. So in my head, I never saw this going this way. I was like, ask them for $1,000. If they say no, we'll take it. We asked them for $1,000 and they canceled the contract.
Wow.
They said we were playing games. I called the agent immediately like, yo, what's going on, man? I said, yo, my clients think you guys are playing games. Like, we're not, there's water in the basement. What game are we playing? We're trying to figure it out. So they canceled the contract. My clients are very devastated. I feel bad. Like, it was eating at me. Because in my head, I was like, man, should I just make them take it without the $1,000? But I was doing the best I could. So it ate at me. My clients were upset and I totally get it. And I called the agent. I said, let me know what you want me to do. I had our attorney call the agent. Like, everyone's like, hey, dude, we'll make this work. No, the sellers are not want to work with you. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And this place has been on the market for 30 days. So in this market, it's just a long time. Come to find out, 4 weeks later, the agent calls me back. He's like, hey, JP. I was like, hey, man, what's going on? He said, guess what? We filed a contract with the next person who's going to give us more money. Oh, really? Why? He's like, oh, it's the water in the basement. Get out of here. Here's the funny part is now the seller actually went and found out what was wrong with it, and it cost them $10,000 to do that.
So they did the work.
So they did the work. They said, now we want your client to pay the $10,000 more and we'll take your offer.
Oh my God.
You had an opportunity to walk away for $1,000. If someone says, I want $1,000 credit, just take it.
Or just give it, right?
Just give up. They get so emotional. My clients were in this weird dilemma and I kept calling them because I'm like, man, you guys really love this place. And they finally called me back and said, JP, here's where we're at. We had to break our lease the last time and the landlord said she would penalize us 2 months. And then when we came back crawling to her, she said, you have to never break your lease until next year, until your lease is up, and then you can stay. And then they signed off to say we will never break our lease. And here's the funny part, that place is still on the market.
Oh my God.
So the $1,000 they didn't want to give up, and they don't even live there anymore. So their mortgage, their HOA, their taxes, we're 90 days out now. So that money that you saved, I think that was the deal for me this year. That was heartbreaking because I was so invested, so much more, because I understood what they need it. Now you have some clients, you just don't know what they're doing. Like,
I mean, who could have thought that it would fall apart just of $1,000?
not in a million years. When I got the call from their attorney, I was like, yeah, just ask for $1,000. Like $1,000 is throwaway money in real estate. They're like, nope, you guys are playing games because someone offered them more money if the contract fell apart. And this is what I tell every client who's selling their place, do not chase the more money when you're under contract. Because that other person is going to say, we want it for more money. And as soon as they get it, they're going to want to figure out how to get their money back. Because no one wants to overpay. So they're going to say, I'm going to give you $20,000 more. And as soon as they go into inspection, they're going to figure out how to get $20,000 worth of credit. That deal was very tough for me because, like I said, I was really invested with my clients. It's also a neighborhood that I really love too as well, that I've lived in before, had everything that they needed. And it just sucked to see something kind of crumble because everyone wasn't willing to like work together. And it's like, man, I just make the deal work. So that one kind of sucked. And they still haven't found a place. And we're not going to be looking till next year because they can't break their lease.
Because yeah.
I know you have one that can beat that. I know exactly which one you're going to talk about.
Well, I've had so many hard deals this year, but the one you're probably thinking about is kind of similar to your situation. And my client was buying a garden unit in Ukrainian village. We put an offer on it. It was multiple offers. We did not get it. We did not win the deal. So they went under contract with someone else. And then after a few weeks, I look at the listing again and I see that it says temporary no showings. When something like that happens after the property was under contract, it means that something's not right.
Yep,
so I call the
happens.
agent. I'm like, hey, I noticed that you guys are not showing. What happened? So the agent tells me that the buyer that they had secured decided to cancel the contract because they did the inspection and there was some evidence of mold found. Even though the seller agreed to deal with the mold, the buyers just did not feel like they wanted to proceed. So now they were not showing temporarily because they were dealing with mold. So I was like, okay, let me talk to my client, see what he thinks. So I talked to my client and he's still interested. We go in, we take a look at the place again. We hear the story of why that mold happened to be there in the first place. According to their story, there's a sump pump that was behind the wall that got accidentally turned off one time, so leaked a little bit and there was some mold. Okay, all right, well, that doesn't sound like anything too crazy.
Yeah.
Some people say mold is gold because some people are so afraid of mold, whereas it's not that, once you like treat it, it's not that.
My thing about finding issues is if you know what the source is and you can mitigate it.
Exactly. So we offer on the place again, they accept our offer, we go into contract, and they tell us, well, we should be done with the whole mitigation in like 2 weeks. I think in our original offer, we gave them maybe like 45 days to close, which was like plenty of time. They do the mitigation, they test for mold again, and the levels are still elevated. So they have to do the mitigation again. They call the company to come back, take a look at it again, and when the company comes back again, they tell them that we need to rip off all the floors in the unit because the water had gotten under the floors and we need to like open it all up. And also we need to cut out about 3 feet of drywall.
I've been there.
Throughout the whole place. It's like a 1 bedroom plus den plus living room. We're like, okay, well, on a good side, they're, dealing with it, right? And looks like they are not just trying to, mediate like a small issue. They're actually going deep and doing all the work that's needed to be done. So we're like, okay. Luckily, my client was not in a rush. He did not have like a lease expiring or anything. So they do the work, they start the mitigation, they complete it. And mitigating is not that easy because they have to like scrub and spray and they have to set some equipment there to also like dry out or something. So it takes a few days. It's not just like about like, spraying and you're done. It's a process. So they do that, they test for mold again, and it's still elevated.
Well, how many days are we in that now?
That is probably we're at least like 30 days into the transaction at that point.
This is moving.
Yeah, so they have to come back again to do more mediation. So they do that. They test again. again. That probably took them another at least 10 days to do the work again, and then to have a separate company come and test it, send it to the lab, get the results back. So it's at least 10 days. It comes back elevated again. But they tell us there's just one spot that needs to be scrubbed a little bit more. Okay, fine. They scrub that spot, they test again. Looks like we're fine. Mold is cleaned. No mold. Awesome. Now they need to bring a contractor to put the flooring back in, new flooring, and put the drywall back in and paint the whole place, and also put all the mechanicals back into the mechanicals room in order for us to do the inspection.
Yeah, they rehabbed this place.
Exactly. They essentially rehabbed the place. It took them maybe another 2 weeks to do it all, maybe even more than that. When we came to do the inspection, it was not finished yet. So we do the inspection, we walk outside of the unit, and we see that the exterior brick is in the very bad condition. Like falling apart condition, like very bad condition. So we realized that the reason they had so much mold was not because of the sump pump.
It's the brick.
It was the brick. Well, it might have been the sump pump too, but definitely not the main reason why there was like mold in multiple places. So the brick needs to be dealt with, but it is the responsibility of the HOA because it's exterior, and my buyer is not the owner yet, so it's not like we can have that communication with the HOA and demand anything from them. So we have to go through the seller and try to make him to get in touch with the HOA, to have them investigate the issue, to have them get a...
This might be worse than mine. Oh my Lord, this is awful.
So at that point, we're probably like 2 months into the transaction.
Where are you? 60 days now.
We're like 60 days into the transaction. We're past our closing date. My buyer is super nervous because it's like he's stepping into this property and taking on this huge responsibility of what if the HOA will not act on it, because if they don't and it rains, it snows, and the moisture gets inside again, he will get the same issue again. So it's a really hard decision to make. Are you willing to proceed or not with that property after having been under contract for 60 days? So long story short, we were able to finalize the deal. We got an escrow from the seller. So some funds were put into a separate account for when...
How much did they escrow?
I believe they escrowed $5,000. Yeah, which was fair. And my client texted me a few weeks ago saying that the HOA had approved the special assessment.
Hey.
They will be taking care of that exterior brick.
Yeah, good story.
It's like a crazy story turned good story, but I am happy that he felt like that risk was worth taking on, and that the HOA also acted the way they did, the way they were supposed to, and they're taking care of the issue. So it's a bad story turned good story.
Yeah, that's nice. I think because we've done so many deals, like we've seen the possibilities of things closing and not closing. And what's hard working with clients is I understand it seems so scary because this might be your first or your second house or maybe your third. And if it's by the time it's your third, you probably feel like you know everything. But if it's your first, every HOA is scary. There's good, there's bad with it. There's HOAs that are very on top of everything. There are ones where the HOAs are very low and they don't take care of anything. Like you have no idea what your neighbors are going to be voting for. And that's another thing. Like it's not even just the HOA itself, it's the people who live there and what they think is important. I was in a building where we wanted to, there was a person who lived in one of the garden units that kept flooding and it basically needed a check valve. But every time we voted for it, guess what? The other 6 units all voted no because it costs $12,000 to do. We have $6,000 in reserves. And it doesn't really affect any of their units. It's tough where it's like...
That's exactly the concern my client had because it would not affect the other units. So would they actually vote for the special assessment?
Yeah.
And he told me that some people voted against it because they don't have the money to pay the special assessment, but the majority voted for it, so it worked.
Yeah, it's also the monies too. Not everyone has $3,000 laying around to pay for a special assessment that doesn't affect them if they were to sell their building. So your story was way better than mine. There was light at the end of the tunnel there. The crazy story with a good ending. My client last year was buying a 2-flat.
That's a good start already.
Story over. Multi-units are hard. Here's why I think they're hard. In a condo and an association, as much as you hate the HOA is that umbrella that kind of protects you. In a single family home, you can kind of do whatever you want, but there's a risk too as well because there's no HOA to protect you. In a multi-unit, you're buying 2, maybe 3 homes where there's no no HOA and you have no idea what's happening on any level. And like that's just, to me, the scariest part about multi-unit. You need to have a good cash flow because when things go wrong, like it's gonna go wrong times 2.
Or 3.
Or 3. So my client's buying a multi-unit and it's just like a gem of a place. It's on a 50-foot lot. It looks like a single family house. It's beautiful. I was like, how is this still on the market? In Edgewater, in Andersonville, like right at the top of Andersonville. I was like,
oh, wow.
On Rose Hill, like really nice. I talked to the agent, we go back and forth on negotiating. Everything is going fairly smooth. We got it way on the list because they were overpriced. And we're going through the process and like, I don't know, something to me just didn't feel right. I just didn't know what it was. The seller was just weird. The seller was there for all the showings, for inspections, like just everything. And I was like, just feels weird.
Was it owner occupied?
It was owner occupied.
Okay.
So they owned the home for, I think it was like 20 years or something like that. So they owned it for a long time, more than 20, because like 1996, like 20 or 30 years they owned the home for. And we run into the people who are living upstairs. And talking to them, they had the look in their eyes of like prisoners. Like they were like, are you the new owners? Okay, can we do laundry? I'm like, what? Like, we just couldn't figure out why they were so terrified. They couldn't do laundry on certain days of the week. They weren't allowed to use the backyard. They weren't allowed to park their car in a 2-car garage. They weren't allowed to park in front of the house. They had so many rules from the owner that my client just talked to them. They were like, oh my God, we're so happy. Like, we'll cut the grass if it needs to cut the grass. Like, we were just like, this is such a weird feeling. So we're going through the process. We're close to closing.
Were they paying rent?
They were paying rent. There's a great place.
And not allowed to park in front of the house? What?
It was weird. It was so weird. So we're going through the process, and the whole time to me, it feels like they don't want to sell this home. It just feels like they don't want to sell it. They were looking for another home as well. They couldn't find a home. They're like, hey, we'll give you another 2 weeks. My client's like, I'm good. I don't care. And when we're going through all the paperwork, my attorney calls and says, hey, I think we found a problem. I was like, hey, what's up? He said, this place isn't a 2-flat. What do you mean? Like, it's not in the city records as a 2-flat. It's in the city records as a single family home. So how can that be? There's 2 gas lines, there's 3 meters, like all the things for it to be a 2-flat is there. So at some point in like 94, they never finished the process. They never did it. They never went through the last piece to say this is a multi-unit.
So somebody did convert the single family home into a 2-flat, but they just never finalized that.
They never finished the paperwork. We're at closing when my client finds us out. And we pause closing because we want to make sure this is a 2-flat. I call the city. The city said, hey, it's gonna be a 3-4 week process. It's gonna cost X amount, blah, blah, blah. I told the attorney, I said, hey, they're just gonna push closing out. We need your client to apply a credit so he can pay for zoning change. And the owner said no. We're like, what do you mean? It's like, no, I'm not gonna apply a credit. You should have known it was a single family and done your research. We're
what?
Like, what? Like, time out. So we pulled out all the documents. It's like, but you signed here that it was a multi-unit. Yeah, I know. You should have did your research. So they knew they didn't fill out the paperwork properly. I was waiting for someone to catch it.
Wow.
Gets even better. So she said she's not gonna give a credit. My client's like, dude, I'm not paying for this.
How much was that?
It was $1,700, somewhere around there. My client was like, this is not on me, like this is crazy. So my lender worked out some credit he can get on the back end. He's like, I'll fix it for you. So we went to their attorney and said, you know what? No worries, it's already taken care of. Their attorney asked us how. Oh, well, the lender is figuring out something on the back end so things worked out. The seller said, no, I want the buyer to pay for it out of his pocket.
What? Why would the seller even care how it's getting done? It's just getting done, not at your cost.
She refused to sell that house unless my client was paying for it himself. Yeah, that's how much I knew they did not want to move. They didn't get the price they wanted for the home. They saw that we were okay with everything. Oh, this is 60 years old? We don't care. And I told my client, I was like, just say okay. He's like, why? It's like, the minute you say no, she's gonna walk away. I feel it. So she took that opportunity and says, well, I want you to pay it. Yeah, that got really messy at the end. He finally closed. It was very messy. And the tenants are amazing. I think he put a hot tub in the backyard. Everyone uses it. Like, it's great. I think that was the craziest story. It's the craziest deal I did, but also like the realtor on the other side who was super nice. She was telling me the whole time, she's like, yo, this client's crazy. I'm so sorry.
Well, I feel like we as real estate agents, we're also therapists to our clients. And I have dealt with a few clients this year who, just to your point, like that seller was just trying to find a reason to cancel the deal because they did not want to sell.
They don't really want to sell.
I have dealt with buyers who were doing the same thing. They were like trying to find a reason to cancel, whether it was some small inspection thing or whatever, which they felt like was a big issue, where it actually wasn't, because they just wanted a reason to cancel.
Yeah, I try to tell every client, but I have in the back of my head is something's gonna be wrong with every home.
Absolutely.
I don't care if it's brand new. If you're worried about the furnace, do not buy a house. That's like buying a car and saying, what do you think could go wrong with it? Last year, I changed 5 tires last year. 5.
Your car only has 4.
I know. All of them were nails, but everything can go wrong in a home. Does it mean it's going to go wrong? No, but you have to be prepared. And if you're not prepared to take on that kind of responsibility, just don't buy a home. I think sometimes clients look to us and they want us to tell them it's gonna be perfect, okay, and everything's all right. I had a client this morning and we were talking.
But I can't tell you that.
That's not my job. I had a client this morning and we were talking and he had a lot of questions and I kind of stopped him and said, hey, if you want me to tell you that this is a perfect place to live and nothing's gonna be wrong and you're gonna make money on it, I'm not gonna do that. What I am gonna tell you, this is a 2020 build, very great condition, priced very well, there's open house next week, and if you wanna attend that, let me know. I can tell you about the real estate in today's market. I can't tell you this house is gonna be worth more money. You're buying something that is at market value. Now, if you bought something that needed $100,000 worth of work and you found someone to do 50, well, yeah, now it's worth 50K more than what you bought it for. But if you're buying, and mostly everything in the city is at market value, give or take. If you're buying something that's a distressed property, then yeah, I can tell you what this is. You got a client.
Yeah, what the market value.
I can tell you the market value and you're going to make money. If you buy at market value, which is 90% of the stuff in the city, it's tough in real estate as a realtor to, at least to me, like I am a very technical person. I want to make sure that we have all the numbers right and you feel good about it, but I'm not gonna give you guarantees. Like I can't.
Real estate is very emotional though.
So emotional.
They're so emotional, and because there are so many people involved in the process, 2 agents, 2 attorneys, sellers, buyers.
I had a guy the other day, really nice kid. We went to see the place. I just had a feeling. He sent me the place he wanted to see. I was like, do you want to see some more? He's like, no. I was like, I'm gonna send you some more. We get to see it. He said, I love it, JP, I want to put an offer in. Are you sure? I love it. Okay. We put an offer in, inspection comes, mom shows up to inspection. And from that moment, I was like, yeah, this is gonna cancel.
The story's over.
This is gonna get canceled. Like, I could feel it. And it was like, what's that on the wall? What's this over there? What's that over there? I'm like, these are all normal things. So they had a roof issue 10 years ago to replace the roof, and they didn't fix the aesthetic pieces that had staining. So inside the hallway, you can still see there's some staining. I can understand that, but we can go through the meeting notes, figure out what it is, but I'm pretty sure, I won't say a guarantee, but that's from the last issue they had. The realtor said the same thing, she wasn't sure. And the realtor was like, I don't know what that is because it's literally so high up. We ended up canceling. He didn't feel comfortable. I was like, that's fine. Realtor called me like 2 days later. He's like, hey, JP, just let you know. She sent me a picture. Those were all cobwebs. Someone got up there with a ladder and cleaned them out. It was all cobwebs. It's just crazy to see. Like, I understand like it's a scary thing buying real estate. Yeah. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing to say. If you don't want to buy real estate, don't. Don't convince yourself. Don't make someone else convince you. Don't buy it.
I would even add that if you're not willing to take on the risk of owning real estate, if you don't want to own real estate and the risk that's associated with it, the maintenance that's associated with it, just don't.
Just don't do it.
You might think that you want more space, but that space comes with
responsibilities
of maintaining, taking care, fixing,
and it's all
the potential leak, was whatever, you know.
You don't know who was an HOA, you don't know what's wrong with the building. Like, all your friends and family that said they make money off of real estate, that's all luck. 90% of it's luck, 10% they actually did it. Like, when we were looking for a home 6-7 years ago, we had 3 homes lined up. One was $399, other one was $399, one was $315. The $399 ones were way better. One had a rooftop deck, was an uptown. I was like, this is great, it was nice. The other $399 one had 2 floors, so a duplex down. It was like right on the edge in Wicker Park. These are 2 really good ones. The other one at $315 it was okay. Like, it was nice, but it was okay. The cabinets were like old maple. There was carpet in the bedrooms. And I was like, this place isn't great, but let's go for this one. So we got the one at $315. We sold it several several years later, made 100 grand on it. The two places are $399, they were both sold for $399. They're both reselling now for the same price. There's no way for you to, like, that one in Wicker Park, way better. But it was overpriced at that time. Someone bought it overpriced, and now you're stuck with it like down the line. You just don't know. I don't think real estate is something that you go into where you like, I have to make money. If you're trying to make money, flip something.
Right. I mean, if you're not an investor who thinks from that standpoint, if you're going into it not thinking, okay, how do I make money on this? If you're just looking for a place for yourself to live.
Yep. The best ones to do that with is multi-units. That's the only way I can see that you can somewhat guarantee you, because there's no way I can see that can somewhat guarantee you a path, because as you rent them out, you start leveraging each one against each other to buy something bigger. And there's a path to do that every year. That makes total sense.
Right.
But like buying a condo in like a building with 300 units and say, am I gonna make money on this? That's not what you should be buying this for. You should buy it because you want to own it. A lot of times how people build a portfolio is their first place, they never sold it and they rented it out. That's it. You just start building that portfolio. So that person who has 3 rentals, they didn't buy 3 rentals. Those were all their homes at some point, and they just keep moving.
That's another thing that I keep telling my clients, like in this inventory market where it's hard to find something you like and also the affordability is pretty low, your money doesn't go that far. It's hard to afford like the place that you would really want to have. But what I tell my clients is use it as a stepping stone. Think about, okay, yes, maybe now you can only afford this, but as long as it's not a totally bad place and you can see yourself living there, do that and then use it as a stepping stone to either, you know, sell that or maybe rent it out if you're able to do that. Wait till the rates go down, refinance, your payment will get super low, you know, rent it out, go get a place that is nicer or make some updates, something small, refinish the floors, you know, kitchen cabinets, easy things, repaint, sell it. Now you have more money to put as a bigger down payment on your next home that will be closer to your dream home.
Like the home we have now, single family home, we couldn't afford it years ago because we didn't have enough money. We still didn't have enough money, but the place we bought gave us $100,000 of equity. I'm like, oh, so like we could buy a bigger house and not be poor. Like, so like it's a stepping stone. Like your first place, you're not gonna live there forever. I think of it as a rental.
Right.
You're gonna be here 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, somewhere around there. And if you have to leave quicker, then make sure you're in a place that you can rent it out. Or make sure you're okay losing money on it. I say losing money, when you do the math, even if you broke completely even, it's less money than if you would have rented this place out. And that's something I try to explain to clients. Like, let's say if your mortgage on this place is $5,000, how much you think the rent would have been? So if you make nothing on this place, you saved what you would have been paying in rent this entire time. It's not always the money on the back end.
Right.
It's the money that's happening all throughout the time of you living there. So yes, is this place worth the same amount as before? Yeah, it kind of sucks, but you would have rented this place out for more money. Just a heads up. It's like, oh, well, there's maintenance and all that jazz. Like, if you buy a place that's 30 years old and everything's old, and you should probably, the price should dictate that.
Should be reflected,
Needs new furnace, needs new AC, needs new roof. The price should dictate that. That's where having a good real estate agent is very important to say, hey, this is what this is gonna cost. Like, it's not always, like, it sucks. I think every time something breaks in my house, I'm just like, I have to pay for this. The only times that I've been happy with the real estate I've bought is selling it, because that's when you see all the things you put into it. That's when the pride comes in. It's like, yeah, we did change all those floors. Like, when I sold my last place, I was like, no, this place is great. Yeah, we did do a lot of stuff, because while you're there, it's like, the dishwasher broke. The fridge isn't cold enough. And then like you're complaining every 5 minutes. And when you sell it, you go, oh, our place is better than everybody's place. And I do feel good. That's when I felt the best. My home now, I feel great every day because I don't have neighbors above and below me. That was Real Estate Horror Stories with JP and Anastasia.